Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to CarMiZa. It's been a little while. Today is Tuesday, December 20th, 2022, and here is an update. So as you can see in the last video, I talked about the Dynamat in the interior. That is all done, and I have since moved on to the trunk. So currently to date, I've put so far this month, about 33 hours into the trunk, and I want to go through and kind of describe what I've done so far. So as many of you know, the old trunk was still together when I got the car, but it was in very rough shape. So I proceeded to go through, remove everything, scrape off all the old Dynamat. And also there was quite a bit of glue inside the interior. For example, up underneath the rear deck, rear package shelf, that was covered in glue because that's the way that it was upholstered previously. So 33 hours again to go through, clean everything. Kind of knocked out any burrs or sharp edges. I had to do some re-welding there along the back seat, and there were some pieces that were cut. I welded those back together. Plugged all the holes. There was quite a few holes that, like you can see those rubber caps there. Silicone sealed those that were missing. Many of you also may know that this car was at one point in a small accident, and you can see some of the wrinkled metal there. As well as in that vent area. You can see where it's still a little bit bent, but that's fine. It's okay. There is no rust. And I think it was, other than the floor being a little wrinkled there, which normally isn't an issue for people, the car is, structurally sound. So I went through, I also epoxy primered, as you can see, any areas where there was any bare metal or scratching, just to ensure that there's no further corrosion or anything like that. And also, as you can see, I removed the trunk bars. So this is going to give me a nice clean area to be able to work up along on the underside of the rear deck. The the trunk lid is right here. And for now, I've just kind of set the factory piece on. I did peel off all of the upholstery that was on this as well. That was kind of clipped in. But it is all down to bare metal, cleaned and ready to be prepped. This too, that was part of the 33 hours. So it was a lot of work getting the old Dynamat off and preparing it. This will be covered much the same. The trunk is effectively going to look the same for the most part as what Earl had. So I actually have a picture over here. And at one point, this is what the car looked like, what the trunk looked like. So you can see the Milberts and then two of the C1 changers and then the P1 and X1 in the center. And those were also gold plated to match the Milberts. So that's also another quick update on the design and build. Initially, I was thinking about using the Sony Z50. I have changed my mind. So I am actually going to be using the original P1, X1, C1 setup that Earl had. There will be probably 4 C1 changers in the car, 2 hanging from the rear deck, just as you see in the picture, and then 1 kind of tucked away on each of these side panels. That's still to be determined on that. So basically, my next step for the build, the next thing I'm going to start tonight is installing all the Dynamat. And I've got about 80 square feet to put into the trunk. Hopefully that gets me where I want in 2 layers, especially on the bigger, the bigger, flatter area pieces of metal like this. I will also be doing some additional expandable spray foam up into the C-pillars there. In that area, and I don't know if you can see it, but you can see where I did. Yeah, you can barely see it up there. I ran expandable spray foam into the C-pillars from the inside, and that area is solid and tight, but as soon as you get down here, it's bare metal and material. So obviously, I want to deaden the heck out of that. So that'll be one of the next things I do. Also, in terms of the way the car looks when it's done, this again is the way Earl had it. So the amps, the changers, and the P1 and X1 will be effectively identical. The one thing I'm going to do differently is on the side panels, like here you can see in here, I am going to rebuild those. The old ones were shot, and I'm going to make those symmetrical. And the car will still have a spare tire, which would be cool. And the carpet as well. This is the factory BMW carpet. I'll be using the same material, which is brutally difficult to work with. But when it's finished, especially like in this picture, he didn't have it on the trunk lid yet at this point. But when the whole thing is done, it looks like the trunk of a Rolls Royce. It's beautiful and I think very, very unique. You know, a lot of cars these days are kind of black and have, you know, things are kind of hidden away. This trunk was very, very unique and I think kind of timeless. So I'm going to go back and do the same thing. One of the other cool things that I'm doing with regard to the build is it's difficult to see in this picture, and a lot of people didn't know this, but hanging from the rear deck, you can see the two changers and the two processors. Above, in between the rear deck and these changers, he basically took one giant heatsink and had the amps guts installed inside of there. So there was two big Zapco amps underneath, kind of sandwiched in there. I plan on doing the same thing as well. And again, that's going to be tricky, but I'll certainly get it in there. So those will be in there as well. But in order to make sure everything fits okay, you know, I don't want to, you know, I've got changers that are pristine. They're new in the box. I don't want to scratch anything. So I'm going to be building some foam, just using some industrial foam insulation, kind of some foam mock-ups to be able to basically replicate each piece that I'm putting in. And that way they're lightweight. I can double-side tape them where they need to go, just to make sure everything's going to fit okay for spacing purposes. So I expect right now, again, it's the end of December coming up on Christmas, so happy holidays to all. I expect it'll take probably about 150 more hours in the trunk, which I'm currently doing about 40 to 50 hours a month on the car. So probably 3 months is my goal, and I will have the trunk completed. So if you've got any questions, let me know. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.